We were walking to my house. We are me and my classmate Melanie. We walked for a long time, a very long time. Climbing the mountains, my legs were shaking. There were a lot of mountains in Germany, and when there were up to a fig of homework in backpacks, sadistically stuffed by teachers, then this was already the limit, to be honest. But Melanie and I tried to walk quickly, looking around cautiously. The fact is that there is a crazy woman in our neighborhood who kidnapped children and killed them. Rumor has it that she went crazy when her children and husband died in a car accident. There is also a hypothesis that she was infertile and poor, and after killing her husband, she began to take revenge on people, taking revenge on their children. School children disappeared not infrequently, but not so often that it would be worth panicking. And it is still unknown that this one woman was involved in the disappearance of the children. Many ran away from home, or something else, I didn't go into detail somehow. When we were already halfway to my house, I curiously squinted at the long-burned house in a fire. Stopped, of course, and began to examine. Because I knew that a psychopath likes to hide and live in long-dead houses that people avoided. The friend went on, but still deigned to notice that I stopped and went back. She stared at me in surprise, and then also began to look at the house. I shook my head, and we walked on, chatting about all sorts of trifles. But then after 2 minutes of walking I saw this unfortunate madwoman. She was all in white, smiling with broken lips, and said very strange things. When I kill you, you will become a part of me, and your soul will go to the Lord God, and you will be happy. I felt a little scared, because few people manage to escape from this patient. And suddenly, she grabbed us. Melanie screamed and started to pull out. I started hitting and biting her. Then I had the sense to scratch her face and carefully get to the peephole. This is what I'm trying to write now, somehow fun, but then I was ready to sink through the ground. The woman grabbed her dirty and not pretty face with skinny hands and began to scream and hiss terribly, but let us out. We were running like hell. 15 minutes later we finally reached my house, and interrupting each other, we all told Mom and the police where it all happened, and of course what happened to us. The next day, the authorities called and informed us that the psychopath had not been found, but they found a white dress that was splattered with blood. I was saddened and lost in thought. But that same evening, the most terrible thing happened. When I was combing my hair, I noticed that it was this woman standing behind me. Semi-transparent, with black holes for eyes and a cruel grin. I held my breath and quickly turned around. I was alone in the bathroom. But it was a shock. All this was a month ago. Children both disappeared and are disappearing. But less often. Nothing is written or said about this in the newspapers or in the news. The police are still looking for her. And it seems to me that she is a ghost, taking revenge on children for her death and infertility. She's just a spirit. An evil spirit. And when I grow up, I will look for her. For I want to live freely. Since then I have been going to school and home by bus. You never know, suddenly my luck ended. We were driving my friend's really old beat-up Subaru through a massive graveyard. We stopped and walked down a hill and came across a little pond. There was someone sitting on a rock on the other side of the pond. The figure was all black and we couldn't make out any features other than the fact it looked like a man who was wearing some old-style top hat. We stupidly waved and shouted, "Hi." He didn't show any acknowledgement and continued sitting still on the rock. All of a sudden, he jumped to his feet, started running to us on the water and then vanished in thin water about halfway on the pond. My friends and I screamed and ran back to the car. The car wouldn't start, and we heard something banging on the back of the car. It wasn't a constant bang, but every few seconds or so we'd hear it. Nobody was outside from what we could see in the dark, but something was making a noise on the car. I opened my phone and started dialing my mom to come give us a boost, but I had no service. None of us had any cell service. The next 30 minutes were spent trying to get her car started. No banging was heard afterwards, but we felt this heavy pressure around us. Finally, the car started and she hit the pedal to the metal. We sped out of the graveyard so fast. Immediately crossing the gates, all of our phones regained cell service. One thing I know for certain is that someone or something was out there, and it was not an animal or a human. It was a dark and stormy night in the small town of Bad City. The only sound that could be heard was the pounding of rain on the rooftops and the occasional clap of thunder in the distance. In the streets, the only movement came from the stray cats and dogs that darted across the puddles, trying to find shelter from the relentless downpour. As the night wore on, a young girl named Arash made her way through the deserted streets, the collar of her coat pulled up to shield her face from the rain. She was on her way home after a long day of work at the local auto repair shop, where she had been learning the ropes from her father. Despite the darkness and the storm, Arash felt safe in Bad City. She had heard the rumors about the mysterious girl who walked the streets alone at night, but she had never seen her herself. Besides, she had nothing to fear. She was a good person, and she knew that nothing bad could happen to her as long as she stayed on the right path. But as Arash turned the corner onto her street, something caught her eye. At the end of the road, she saw a figure standing in the shadows. It was a girl, dressed in black, with a chador covering her face. Arash couldn't see her features, but she could feel the girl's eyes on her, watching her every move. Arash quickened her pace, hoping to get to her house before the girl could follow her. But as she walked, she realized that the girl was still there, trailing her silently through the rain. Arash tried to ignore her, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being followed. As she reached her front door, Arash fumbled with her keys, trying to get inside as quickly as possible. But when she turned around, she saw the girl standing right behind her, her face still hidden beneath the chador. Arash tried to run, but the girl was too quick. She grabbed Arash by the arm, pulling her close. Arash could feel the coldness of the girl's touch, and she realized that this was no ordinary person. This was something else entirely. The girl whispered something in Farsi, a language that Arash didn't understand. But even though she couldn't understand the words, she could feel the menace in the girl's voice. It was as if she was trying to cast a spell on her, to take her soul away. Arash struggled to break free, but it was no use. The girl was too strong. As she looked into the girl's eyes, she saw something that made her blood run cold. There was no humanity in those eyes, only a hunger that couldn't be sated. Suddenly, Arash felt a sharp pain in her neck. The girl had bitten her, sinking her teeth into her flesh. Arash screamed, but it was too late. The girl had already taken her blood, and with it, her life. When the sun rose the next morning, the people of Bad City woke up to a shocking sight. Arash's lifeless body was lying in the middle of the street, drained of all blood. And nowhere to be seen was the girl in black, who had claimed another victim in her endless hunt for blood. From that day on, the people of Bad City knew to fear the girl who walked home alone at night. She was a creature of darkness, a vampire who preyed on the innocent. And as long as she roamed the streets, no one in Bad City was safe.